Greetings again, everybody. Welcome back to Dark Souls 2. Let's pick back up right where we left off last time. That part down there won't be a problem for us for quite a while, but eventually we will go down there, even though it's entirely optional. So yeah, today we are actually gonna go and fight our first boss. Now, in the first Dark Souls and in Demon Souls as well, reaching the first boss was a matter of roughly 5 to 15 minutes, because the tutorial areas actually had a boss. In this case though, not so much. Reaching the boss, the first one I mean, can take up to 2 hours, like it did for me the first time around, because I like to go really slowly through Souls games whenever I play them for the first time. If you're more experienced, it might take you up to 20 or maybe 30 minutes, depending on how fast you go. Maybe even faster, I don't even know. That area to our right here is another entirely optional part of the Forest of Fallen Giants. And for right now, we are going to ignore it. We'll be back later though. But anyway, unless you sprint up that route right away, it's almost certain that one or two enemies might follow you up here eventually. So just be aware that that can happen. See? One of them's gonna retreat though, because the AI kind of has a short attention span. Just be aware that this can happen, and you should be fine though. It's not like the enemies down there are a big problem. The royal soldiers up here are much more formidable opponents, but even they are kind of easy. I mean, it's just the beginning of the game, really. And oh, look at that. That's kind of odd. I'd recommend killing that guy before that bird can drop down, well, that guy. Have fun with him while someone may or may not throw firebombs at you. This is actually a boss from slightly later in the game, and we don't have to fight him yet. In fact, we're not gonna. Once you drop back down, he will disappear and not show back up here for the rest of the playthrough. You don't get any additional rewards for fighting him right here, right now. In fact, it's better to actually fight him later. Unless you really want to do it now. But at this point it's more tedious than anything, because you could see we barely do any damage to him. And this is why I bought some firebombs earlier. You see those barrels there? They aren't red, so you might not immediately notice. But they're explosive. And they break open that wall. And you can already see where it leads us to. Back to the bonfire that we just left from. You can also bait that firebomb throwing guy to, you know, just throw them at the barrels, but it's kind of difficult to make him aim exactly where he needs to aim, so I find it easier to just, you know, throw your own firebombs at the barrels. You might have to, well, do this particular encounter a couple times, depending on whether you die or not, or how often you go through here for various reasons. So I always recommend just baiting that one guy to walk up those stairs. He always does so to just, you know, get close to the stairs. So that guy here doesn't actually attack you. But oh well. Let's actually switch to New Game Plus though, because, well, there's something new here. Oh yes, another red phantom. I'm not too fond of those, to be honest. Most of the time they just take a lot of hits. That particular guy here is wearing the knight set. And the weapon of the day is the stone twin blades. I have to say I'm not too fond of how twin blades work. The basic idea is that they are fairly weak, have a low attack rating, but they hit multiple times per swing, so they rack up quite a bit of damage. And the damage actually isn't exactly bad. You can even stun lock opponents. If the first hit connects, you will probably stun lock him. And it's even good for dealing with multiple opponents if you switch lock on at the right moment. But still, you have to get fairly close to actually make it work well. Because only if you're close you can ensure that as many of the hits as possible actually land on the opponent. Though I reckon, if you try to get used to them, you might even end up liking them, opposed to me. So, back in regular new game, let us first pick up that one item I missed right by those stairs. It is a green blossom. Green blossoms are consumable that will help you regenerate your stamina faster. Pretty useful. And that is a trap room, no one's gonna fool us. But we're gonna use it against our opponents here. That one guy will always come out, and if you go behind the corner right away, he will get killed. We can also operate them ourselves, but we can't aim them, so hitting is pretty hard. And yeah, in general, I find it easiest to charge in as soon as the shots are fired. Because if you wait outside, you will have to deal with 3 enemies outside. That way we had the chance to kill one of them with no problem, and then actually get a pretty good drop on the other 2. If you don't know how to deal with this room though, it can be very hard. It has some nice rewards though. Great Soul Arrow, for instance, is, well, one of the basic projectile sorceries. It's a slightly more powerful version of Soul Arrow, which is probably the only spell you'll have at this point if you go for a sorcery-based build. But the real goodies lie down here. And this chest here will introduce us to a new mechanic, so let's seal up first. It's trap chests. Oh yes, the game has those now. This was the crossbow variety. Just dodge around like mad, you should be fine. The other version of the trap chest is the poison chest, in that case just dodge away. And this is where we use our Pharaoh's Lockstone. To operate another Pharaoh's contraption we will have to find another Lockstone, of course. And this particular one only produces a face on the wall which we can hit. Other ones will do other stuff. We'll get to that when we get to that. Titanite Slab is pretty nice reward so early in the game, but we won't be able to use it for a while. The Chloranthe Ring, however, is more immediately useful, because it will help us regenerate our stamina a little bit faster if we use it. And this door is a mystery to a lot of people, but you just have to knock nicely and people will open it for you. See, isn't that guy nice to let us in? As far as I know, there's no other way to open this door. But yeah, once you have it open, it's best to stay a little bit away from the door so you don't accidentally aggro the other guys inside. Because you know, if you can avoid dealing with multiple opponents, you should always do that. Of course, considering that my playstyle is rather reckless, you might think that this is funny out of my mouth. But still, I don't actually want to die, so I try to avoid it. And I'm not gonna do it this playthrough, probably, but there's actually a reward if you finish the game without dying once. You get a ring that will make, I forgot which it was, but it will either make your left hand or your right hand weapon invisible. To you and to other players. If you finish the game without resting at any bonfires, you can light them though, you will get the ring that makes the other weapon invisible. But yeah, we're not gonna do either of those. Because I don't think it's worth showing off. The rings, I mean. Here we get the life ring though, it's nothing special, increases our health a little bit, much like the blue seal. Only the blue seal also summons blue sentinels in case you get invaded.
Hello there. Traveling all alone in these treacherous times. Well, I hope you have a very good reason. Oh, hogwash. Who am I to judge? My name is Pate. I journey hither and thither on a sort of treasure hunt, you might call it. Be careful out there. There's talk of unsavory bandits who prey upon travelers like yourself. Oh yes, you be cautious if you go any farther. There's treasure in there for certain, but the entrance locks from behind. I saw the same design earlier, and it's the same contraption, I'm sure. I was with this warrior, you see, and he insisted that he go inside first. The rather brusque fellow tried to swipe the loot for himself, but it trapped him inside. I still have the gent's ring. I do hope he wasn't harmed. I'll leave this one to you. I'm worried about what might be inside.
Oh cool, a trap. Let's bring it. I mean, after all, we do know it's a trap, so we can at least be prepared that something's gonna happen, like an ambush or the gate closing behind us a few seconds after we enter. So we're now basically forced to go onwards for obvious reasons. Quite a few people have said that they see similarities between Patches from Dark Souls and Demon Souls and Pate here. To explain, Patches in the first two games was the guy who promised you treasure, pointed down the hole, said it's right there, and you could basically see it's right there. He then dared you to go look at it from some form of ledge, and he did the nice thing and kicked you down so you could go and pick it up. Really helpful guy. He then informed you that the real treasure was whatever he could strip off your corpse. Well, of course, you didn't die from the fall. You could go back up and do stuff to him, or be friends with him again. So yeah, Pate promised us treasure. And there is indeed treasure here, but mostly enemies. And I wouldn't really put it beyond a lot of people to not find the treasure, because, let's face it, it is very, very well hidden. So I think it wouldn't be wrong to assume that Pate didn't actually know about the treasure here. Can you spot it? Yes. This is that game's equivalent of an illusory wall. They're kind of hidden doors in the wall. Opposed to actually hitting them with your weapon, this time around you have to hit the interact button to open them. And they mostly contain really good stuff. This one though, well, we will see what's in the chest once we actually, you know, get rid of that guy. So, I would say it's not really that good of a treasure. It's not worth it to actually go there for the treasure. We get the staff, but we get that if we start as a sorcerer as well. And if you want to use sorceries, you probably started as a sorcerer. The other thing, the Amber Herb though, is actually kinda useful. If we use it, one of our spell uses gets restored, or actually not just one, a few of them. I think it's a percentage though that gets restored for each spell. But right now, since we only used one heal spell, we would get the one use we already used back.
Well, I see you managed to escape. I hope that brave warrior didn't come a cropper either. Be careful out there. There's talk of unsavory bandits who prey upon travelers like yourself. Oh, but you should take this. It allows undead to call out for help to one another across the fissures between worlds. With luck, somebody will lend you a hand. Well,
so Pate just gave us the white sign soapstone. It allows us to put down a summon sign almost anywhere. People can summon us and we will help them until we actually beat the boss of the area, or a certain time limit expires. For now though, it's Nukem Plus time again. That guy actually managed to kill me because I wasn't quite used to the Twin Blade, and in fact I still am not. You know that I'm not that fond of that weapon. And since we died, we have to collect our bloodstain again in order to get our souls back. Other than that, we don't lose anything. Aside of course from a little bit of our total health, and we now look a little more like a zombie. Those dudes aren't actually very hard to fight. They don't even have that many HP for how well armored they look. You can see that this is a red phantom version of those enemies. We haven't actually fought the normal version yet. But you can see he takes enough damage. That's how much I would expect him to take, considering the amount of armor he's wearing. But yeah, surprisingly enough, the regular versions don't take that many hits. And yeah, in case you didn't notice yet, the easiest way is to bait an attack and then dodge away. Be careful though. He has a combo which hits 4 times. If he does that, he usually will do a swing from the left to right from your point of view as the first attack. In that case, just stay away until he's finished and then go in for the hit. If you stay behind him though, he has a surprise for you. He will just drop back and do a lot of damage. Not seeing that here though. Before actually going on, it's a good idea to come up here, because those guys will actually throw fire bombs down. And the area below them has a lot of explosive barrels. If you stand down there while they throw a firebomb, yeah, you'll take a lot of damage and you will be encased in flames. And that guy down there is an asshole. Not only did our attack go right through him, which actually is a glitch, but he will actually parry us if he blocks. Now, some attacks can't be parried, for instance jump attacks, which is what I did here. So obviously, the easy answer is to do jump attacks, or maybe ranged attacks. And I think some hits from heavy weapons that will knock him down will also work. So we went through this room before already. And here's actually the normal version of those guys. They're called Old Ironclads. Now you can have a look at how few hits they actually take before they go down. It's a thing that the Souls games do in general. They don't really have a lot of enemies that soak in a ton of damage. Instead, there's quite a few that die rather quickly, but so do you. So still be careful. They have big weapons, they're dangerous. So, about this area. We have seen that it's, well, quite in a bad state. Almost everything is in ruin. This is because there was a huge war. I don't know how long ago. Timeline is sketchy, so we can't really make a good guess. But it seems to be a while ago. And there was a big war against giants, who invaded for reasons that right now to us are unknown. And yes, they did this. They basically laid siege to this castle, and if one NPC we will meet way later into the game is to be believed, this war actually raged on for generations. But, you know, that thing we walked past, it's a huge ass sword, and if you have a sword that big, I don't really think that a war can last for that long. Then again, this looks more like it's part of a statue than anything else. So yeah, up there is actually treasure. Whether it's worth it or not is up to you. Actually, the fight isn't too hard, but if you take too long, that one guy dropping down behind us will surprise you. And you will have to deal with 2 people from 2 directions, unable to dodge. And that's basically my way to say it's a very bad situation to be in. But yeah, that was a huge ass sword. And, well, maybe we will see how big giants were later. But I kind of doubt that they were that big, because they would have killed this fucking fortress instantly. And that guy, that's a crystal lizard. If we kill him, which I would just love to do, but can't because the wall is hindering me. If we kill him, he will drop Titanite. This particular crystal lizard will always drop regular Titanite shards, but I do think there's a rare chance that he will also drop a higher tier of shard. But I don't know if that's actually true because it never actually happened to me. So this is the room we've already been to. It is the room with the ladder back to the bonfire. And thankfully, from here we can actually unlock a shortcut in the form of this door here. Right back to the ladder, that will lead us to the bonfire. So now it's actually time to head down here because, well, that elevator kind of looked like it would lead us somewhere interesting, and it's the only way to go. So yeah, there's a fog door ahead, but be aware of that enemy to the left there. Usually he gets me, but this time I'm smarter. And what we see here is actually a summon signature. With it we can summon mild-mannered Pate. And you know what, let's actually do it. Because for summoning Pate and have him survive, we actually get a little something extra later on if we meet him again. And that guy's probably a cheater, because he uses weapons we can't actually get until way later into the game. So, this is what a giant looks like apparently. And if the name is to be believed, this is in fact the last giant. And this is kind of a hint towards, well, the Royal Army winning that huge war. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure. But still, let's have a look. This boss doesn't seem too hard. He mostly does stomp attacks if you're close to his feet. If you are anywhere else, he will use his arms though. Now this might seem obvious hearing it from me now, but depending where you stand, of course, he does different types of attacks. This is something you can easily forget sometimes. But if you want to bait a particular attack, you know, just stand close to his feet in this case and he will always do a stomp. If you want him to do that arm sweep thing, well, stand in front of him and yes, in fact, he just tore off his own arm to use as a weapon against us. I sincerely believe that more bosses in video games should do this. Well, they shouldn't overdo it, of course, but still, it's nice. You can actually, if you use ranged attacks or hit his arm when it's on the ground, destroy that arm, and he won't be able to tear it off anymore. But really, it doesn't really do much. He will get a little more reach if you tear his arm off, but if you stay by his feet anyway... Well, oh god, no Pate died. Anyway, yeah, if you stay by his feet, you won't have to deal with his arm. First boss defeated. Sadly, we won't get Pate's reward for keeping him alive during the fight because, well, he died, but still, it's not that special, and we'll see it regardless. So, we got the soul of the last giant. And while our dear character is gonna say goodbye for now, I hope you'll be sticking around for a little while longer, because I will be showing you what we can make of the soul of the last giant. This is the giant stone axe. From every boss soul, we can make a weapon, or several even. And to make those weapons, or hell, even shields sometimes, we have to give them to two certain characters. We haven't met them yet, obviously, but I will spoil their names right now. One is called Strayed, the other is called Ornifex. And to make the stone axe, we need Strayed. And while I look at this moveset, to draw your own conclusions, let me read the description of his soul. Soul of the surviving giant, who was bound below the forest of giants. Many seasons had come and gone, and the giant prepared for his final rest, but his soul remained magnificent, testimony to his former strength. The giant stone axe's description: great axe forged from the last giant's soul. This weapon resembles primitive stone tool. but is quite powerful owing to its immense size. The giants were eventually defeated by an unnamed hero, but alas, victory came all too late. So, we now know for sure that the Royal Army won, or rather a unnamed hero did its job. But the fortress was already ruined, so it didn't really matter anymore. And yeah, the reason we didn't do very much damage here is because this is New Game Plus, and this weapon is completely unupgraded. It will do significantly more damage when upgraded. In fact, this weapon has one of the highest base damage of all weapons, but it has really bad stat scaling, so it's not gonna be that powerful. But still, this is the Giant Stone Axe, and I hope that you enjoyed this video today. I do hope, of course, to see you again next time.